All right, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Old Reader, New Reader. We have a special guest today, so you don't have to deal with just the three of us, and that is Maki Roll, who's like one of my favorite cosplayers, and she agreed to come on here, which is really nice of her. Um, so I'm not sure if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I can do that. Hello. Thank you all, first of all, for inviting me on. I am Maki, also Maki Roll. I am a cosplayer. I am a nerdy content creator. I do things on Twitch. In my day life, my kind of like Clark Kent job, I am a social media manager for Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland. So I'm a little bit familiar with comics. A little bit, though. A little bit.
I bought some stuff from Third Eye Comics at the Baltimore Comic Con 2 years in a row. Yeah.
You probably saw me because I was boothing.
Were you dressed up?
I was dressed up.
Okay. As what?
What was I dressed up as?
Is that a tough question to ask a cosplayer, like on a Saturday? My bad. I shouldn't have done that.
I don't remember, but I want to say Riri Williams. Maybe.
Oh, okay. I don't remember.
Really cool.
But I did buy some stuff.
Because we just read Ironheart like not too long ago, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's my birthday month pick.
I love it. So good.
So thank you for joining us. This is
Yes.
Was this your choice or was this Maddie's choice? How did you all decide?
This is Maki's choice. It's up to her.
Okay.
This was 3,000% my choice.
3,000%. So
And
you
I'm
really
very
like
happy.
this story.
I love everything about this story.
All right. Can't wait to dive in and talk about it then.
Yeah, because on this show we don't normally review stuff until they're like done. Sometimes, and so when you suggest, I was like, "Good, I have excuse."
Oops.
No, that's perfect because I wanted to read it so bad because like all the hype on Twitter was about this, and I already knew the design looked great, and like first of all, I was just glad to have a new Green Lantern, anyways.
Yeah.
And she just looked so cool, and I heard it was queer, and I was like, okay. So when you chose, like, okay, good, finally. Jessica, this is America's choice. Thanks, Jessica. I agree.
This is wonderful.
And Nocturne says that your room looks really great.
It does.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. This is a labor of love room. This is kind of my babe cave, my gremlin cove, whatever I want to call it.
I see you got a Switch with a little kickstand. Already straight.
I'm a little fancy, you know.
You.
Try to invest in myself.
Big
That's
roller
right.
over there with the little kickstand on the Switch. I'll see that.
It says the man with all the damn figures in his room as if you don't.
Literally about to say.
Yeah, look at his background.
You don't see kickstands on my Switches.
No,
I ain't fancy like that.
Oh,
Quarter
come
of what
on.
he has, Maki. That's a quarter. Not even a quarter. That's like
Oh,
an
I
eighth.
believe it.
That's an eighth.
You got that
This is
background looking like Third Eye.
This is a big green screen. Don't let it go. I don't own any of this.
Whatever. He was
I am
babysitting my
sitting at a
kid
library.
last week. I cleaned his basement. Yeah.
I am at a library's basement.
Once I
All
move
right.
into my new house, I'll go back to filming in my comic book room.
You should.
I love
All right,
it.
so let's if you're new to the show, by the way, we love talking about it in depth. So there are going to be spoilers for those that haven't read it. This is available digitally, and I believe Maki has the single issues over there.
I do.
Yeah, so she really likes this series. So there you have it. So there's available in single issues so far. I think there's a trade paperback of the first 6 issues coming out in November, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been postponed because it's DC. And this is part of their DC's Young Animal line.
Which has been pretty successful. It's been turning out a lot of great stories lately, and this has proven to be no exception. I mean, like, the hype about Naomi's still there. All that stuff was selling out, and now we have this, and I've heard nothing but good things about this, and they were all correct.
So I can't get a straight answer if the Young Animal line is in continuity or not. Some people say yes, the editors say no. Some of the creators said this absolutely is in continuity, and then other people say no. So I don't know if it is or not, because I was wondering when my daughter and I reviewed Naomi, that was one of the things I was like, is this a character as part of the DC Earth line, or what's happening? And from what I was reading, and the editors were like, no, it's not in continuity. But that may change, because we've seen characters start at Vertigo that have gone on to become DC stars. So let's talk about this book. First of all, it is the first time I've ever read N.K. Jamisin. Is that how you say
Yeah,
her name?
Yeah.
Okay.
first time for me as well. But
I
I
don't-
just bought the first book of her Inheritance trilogy because of this. So
Okay. So she's a sci-fi writer, I assume.
Yes. She has an amazing book called How Long to Black Futures Night, and it's just a compilation of short Afrofuturistic stories, and it's so amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right there, DC Young Animal line. That's what this is. Yes. And then the artist I am very familiar with because I'm a huge fan of his artwork, and that is Jamal Campbell. He's the guy that did Naomi. He's done issues of for Marvel Comics, and he's done fill-in art for DC. But I think the thing that put his name on the map was his Naomi with Brian Michael Bendis. And it was solid. I don't know if y'all have read it or not, but it was a really good book.
So
He is the colorist on the book for DBC All-Star who is asking. Oh, I hate when it does that. Here, let me change something really quick.
were you trying to
stop
click on
sharing
who's the colorist?
maybe
I do. Here, I'm gonna do this because when I share the screen,
it gets all weird.
there, I don't mind it blocking me. It can't block our guest. So yes, Shonda Sook's asking who the colorist is, and it's Jamal Campbell himself. So he's doing the artwork. He's doing the whole thing. So there you have it. Now back to this. Who wants to take lead? Who wants to talk about what this is about? Who wants to? Who's? Nobody jump at once, please.
In.
All right, no. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the first 6 issues.
So for those of you in the chat who haven't heard about this yet, you could probably tell from the picture, but this is about a new Green Lantern. Her name is Jo, and the title of this book, Far Sector, is because she's sent from a very, 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 very far sector away from Earth. So it's not one that we've seen in other comic books. She's not near any other Green Lanterns. She is like self-titled lone sheriff of this little area that has like 3 different alien races in it.
The wild, wild west of the space.
Yeah. And it starts off that like I guess they've invited her there preemptively expecting something to happen. And it starts off where there's a murder. It's the first murder in like 5 centuries. And so she's there to kind of figure that out and what's going on with that, while also dealing with a population of people through these 3 different races that don't have emotions. And so they're obviously like some of them have gone off their like medicine or taking things that like don't like give them like emotions, which cause these heightened reactions and potentially murder. And also, I mean, it's gonna be like the simplest summary of this, but like almost like a blanket like sci-fi lens into like, or metaphor even into, like racism and everything else like similar to here in America, which is really, really cool. And yeah, she's like dealing with this while also kind of like rectifying some stuff she's gone in with her past because she was a cop. She was in the army.
Yep, she was in the army.
Yeah.
And it's super cool and super queer and beautiful. That's my summary. But we can delve in more. That's
okay. You explained it a little different than I would have. This sold me from the first issue as a whodunit mystery, right? Like I didn't know what to expect when I was reading this. Other than the fact, kind of reminded me a little bit of Tom King's Omega Men, right? You have Kyle Rayner up in space in the far sectors of space. Nobody's heard from him. You have this young lady from Earth up there. It's called the Far Sector. Actually, that place is called kind of something ridiculous. I can't remember, but she's up there.
Forward.
What is it?
Yes.
It's called Ever Forward.
Ever Forward, right?
Yes.
What does that even mean? Okay.
That's part of a weird naming system, right?
Yeah, weird.
It is.
It's called the City Enduring is where she's located.
But there's a murder, like Maddie was explaining, and she's trying to figure it out, and she's going back to, like, this is, like, halfway through the book, she explains, this is my first homicide. Like, and then she starts going, you get to know more about her character and her ties to Earth. Really not a lot in issue 1. And
it's not until almost issue 5,
I think is when the flashback happens.
Okay.
Where you're like, oh, she is from Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was a cop. Okay. Got it. And she has trust issues. Parents got divorced at a young age, and she's trying to do the right thing. She saw her partner, I guess, when she was in the police force, overuse his power and commit police brutality, and when she told her superior she was fired, and that's when the little blue people, the Guardians, come in and say, "Hey, you're worthy of a Green Lantern ring." And she was drunk at the time, so she's like, "All right, let's do it." I loved it.
Ted wants to know if it's for mature readers.
It is absolutely. It is even on the cover. It tells you 17 plus.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I would let my daughter. She's 11. She'd not her reading this.
I don't know how graphic it is in a lot of respects, but yeah.
When I see mature content, I think of I don't know. I was expecting more. I mean, there's no nudity.
No,
there's no sex.
Yeah, there's sex.
There's sex.
Okay, but it's classy sex, right? It's not.
Yeah. Like they wake up in bed together.
Yeah. It didn't go like it wasn't like 5 pages with a splash page of like.
It could be though.
Sex.
I wish.
Did not happen.
That was a pretty hot scene. That was pretty hot.
And the violence isn't because it's alien, right? So it's not gratuitous. I guess in that respect, it's not a lot. Like there's some scenes of the murder victim split open. I guess could be considered.
Yeah, but
I think it's the themes themselves. I mean,
it says 17 plus, so it's really weird that they call it the young animals line, because it says 17 plus on the cover. Like I said, I would be okay. Everybody's different though. I would be okay with my 11-year-old reading it.
Like youngish animals.
I guess it depends on their level of maturity, really, when it comes down to it. Maybe.
Your daughter grew up on anime. She'll be fine.
Yeah, she'll be fine. Yeah.
She's seen worse.
Watch Berserk, then yeah, she's seen worse.
Please tell me you haven't shown your daughter Berserk.
Oh, I'm a little more responsible than that. Like, I'm a little more come on. Now, if she finds it on her own and we talk about it behind her mom's back, I'd be like, yeah, it is pretty damn good, ain't it? But I'm not gonna go and show her.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting first 6 issues, though I think Maki and I read the 7th issue as well, so we're gonna try not to spoil anything for Omar and Maddie. But it is for me what really got me going was the whodunit, and it makes me want to keep reading, especially how well written it is. Jamisin is a fantastic writer. The way she interslices the whodunit with Joe's backstory and how she is able to weave it so seamlessly together, I think it's very well done. And I think that's part of the reason. And she puts Joe into this alien world. Like by the time we've met her, she's already been there for a while. She's had a relationship with one of the people, the peace attendant, Sizin, which didn't work out because they don't have emotions. So these people, so basically the premise is these 3 races or alien races lived in harmony for a very long time, and then these outside, the critocracy, the cloud critocracy, came in and they used many tactics that perhaps people that Germany would have used in Nazi or during Hitler's era, where they used these subversive tactics to turn people against each other. And so there was a lot of infighting at the time until they decided to come together to defeat this cloud critocracy. And in their, because they're obviously much more evolved or advanced than our civilization is, they decide the best way to move forward to prevent something like this happening again is to remove our emotions. And that's kind of a big point throughout this entire 6 issues, because Joe, while she's there, is human, and they offer her this thing called the emotion exploit, which a lot of them received after the fact, but then some people who are born there just automatically get it. So they cannot experience emotions. Everything is very rational. There is no crazy thoughts or anything like that go into it. They asked Joe if she wanted it, and she declined, which for them is unusual, but they have to respect her wishes because she's human. She's not from their place, from their city. And so you're dealing with that, and there's this underground drug coming up called Switch Off that is giving them this ability to feel for the first time. And there's a really interesting moment. So what is happening, which Maddie explained, is one of the races, the K-Topal, I'll probably pronounce it, they eat
thinking organisms.
Eat thinking organisms, but they usually were very polite about it, asking first. And they've, since they got the emotion exploit, they stopped eating that, and they started eating some like homegrown vegetarian kind of meat or whatever. So one of the original killer, she was taking switch off because she couldn't control her emotions for the first time, and this desire was growing in her. She ended up feeding on someone from the Na, which is a different race, and that's kind of how this all gets started. And the interesting thing is that there's people who actually want to be able to feel again. So you have these clashes of those who want the status quo, yes, consent is key. Things to stay the same.
Well, because it's different for them, right? Like when it comes to food and eating, it's kind of different. It's because they were feeling lonely.
Yes.
You don't have a sense of like almost like an existence. So that's why it's a pretty cool explanation, I thought.
It is.
Very, very sci-fi. So that's why I was wondering if they have written sci-fi before.
Oh, and she did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, she has.
She actually won a Hugo Award. I think she's won it 3 times in a row.
Whoa, badass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, the reason alone, the writing alone is worth reading this, but then the artwork is also phenomenal.
I don't know which I like more.
So before we keep jumping into this, sorry, Mike, we tend to just jump in and we all talk at each other for an hour. But I wanted to direct it towards you because you're our guest, just to hear more about like. Do you have any points you'd like to talk about? Or your favorite points, and then we can like just
yes. Wow, I'm glad that you brought that up because that was literally.
I love that scene. That's pretty fun.
Yes, it's such a great scene.
That is just one of my favorite kind of splash pages, just because it's so gorgeous. And what you were saying, Omar, is that like you kind of jumped in it because of the whodunit aspect. For me, I think I jumped in it because I saw that it was like a Black creative team, and that it was a Black Green Lantern. It was a queer Green Lantern. And not only that, but this Black Green Lantern had her natural hair. She had a natural Black voice. I thought that in this was. Go ahead.
We're not going to talk about how, like, she is the best dressed Green Lantern.
Oh, ever. I was getting there. I was getting there.
Those legs, every time.
I was about to say the way Jamal Campbell. This is my first exposure, other than Naomi. This was kind of my first like real exposure to seeing what he could do, and just seeing her wardrobe. I was just like, Kyle Rayner, Jon Stewart could never, ever. So on top of that, and I love that they kind of had that juxtaposition of her being a cop, her being in the military, and her having to kind of be faced with that, and kind of, I'm not saying it was, she kind of like met up with the blue person, who was gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah.
Who were they?
I don't know, but they were amazing, and they were just like, hey, you can be bigger than this, and when you feel like your voice is not enough, I can show you the way. And I thought that was really, really cool, because you don't see a lot of Black femme characters, Black femme queer characters in this sort of setting. No. So for me, it was just an amazing experience. It continues to be an amazing experience. It continues to fascinate me. I love the different races. I love the at especially. I was saying before that Can Has is speaks directly to my heart as a gremlin meme queen who lives on the internet. I just love that character, and I love all of the characters. I think Jamisin does a great job of bringing her characters to you and bringing her world to you.
Yeah, she's just really good at world building. And for those who aren't familiar with the story, what she's talking about, the AT-ATs is they are basically a race that was born of the Nas internet. So they're primordial soup. So they're like the, not I would say android, but they're a digital race, if you will. And so they can access, different wavelengths and things like that. I'm not probably using the right terminology, that normal beings probably couldn't. So that's what the at is. So, and their name is actually like the at symbol and then at, like the word. So that's why they call them the at.
I love that little commentary too about, yes, it's ridiculous.
But yeah, to jump off what like Maki was saying, like it's just there's something so beautiful and awesome about seeing like what fantasy and sci-fi can actually look like and what it actually should look like. Because this was just so beautiful. There's so many different types of people in this, and like seeing, two of the main like love interest or whatever be black characters and also like look dope as hell is really, really nice. And it's such a nice story and fantasy world to get into, and I want to see other stories take on this as well, especially when there's so much like gatekeeping and fantasy every damn day on the internet.
Yeah.
So seeing this is so cool. And like already I'm like, how can I push this on everybody to see more cosplays of this? Like when cons come back?
Oh my gosh. You do not know how many
please?
people were just like, hey, Maki.
I said the same thing as soon as Maddie sent me the stuff to post on Facebook and Instagram. I was like, she could play in a cosplay. Would she do that? All
right. If you do that, then you gotta do the rain outfit. I love that.
Oh,
using the ring. Like,
yes,
you can get creative and make that. That's awesome. I love that. I was
looking at that one. I was also looking at the suit that she wears, I think in the second issue.
Yeah. The white and black suit.
Like, let me talk about what's going on. And she sits down in the chair.
Yes. I was like,
yeah, I like that.
Gets her own chair, and the way that like there's like these little things throughout the like issues. The way she uses her powers, like I really fell in love. It's just such a little part, but you can see that she slowly dissolves her glasses and brings them back. And a couple of issues to go look at this, like the skylight, to go look at this artificial sky, and there's something so neat about it. And it's a little detail, but I just love the way she uses that. That's not a thing she has to have.
No,
she doesn't have to have that on all the time. She uses her literal limited battery power just to look really cool.
I know, and I think that's a really interesting part to her whole character. Like, so her ring is different from the others where, it doesn't last forever. She has to recharge it, and it could take days because there is some underlying, clearly there's a couple of people who are trying to not destroy her, but take her down in essence. And they're like, we've researched the other human Green Lanterns, Guy Gardner, John Stewart, or whatever. And they're like, no, yeah, she doesn't have the same. She'll have to use politics and diplomacy to get ahead, and we can take her down because she can't do it. Which that's going to be a struggle for her. She's going to have to overcome, which is going to be really interesting to see in the next 5 issues that we get before this 12th issue arc ends. So,
real quick, sorry, it's going to cover some faces, but I'll try to go with it. Jamisin's Broken Earth trilogy was the first fantasy/sci-fi that made me realize how narrow the field has been when told by the same kinds of voices. Absolutely.
For sure.
And I just want to say how unfair it is when Guardians like catfish you like this.
Right.
That ain't cool, man. Because if I was at the club, I was at the club at the bar and the Guardian came up to me like that, I'd be like, okay, let's go. And then, I'd be cool like getting a Green Lantern ring.
With the little...
Jo's a bigger woman than any of us, because the fact that she was really drunk but had enough wherewithal to be like, 1, you're out of my league. 2, I'm drunk, and consent wouldn't be there.
Can I just say, I was just like, in that moment, I was like, same though.
I'm like, okay, let's go.
Really quick, there is somebody in the chat. It's his birthday. So happy birthday, Eddie the Albatross.
Happy birthday.
Turning 23 today, and you decided to join us for this conversation.
Aww.
This is such a good question. Do the Guardians hit up other planets for lanterns? Seems like another lantern from Earth every month.
Apparently they do.
You ain't lying. They just like us. I don't care what DC Comics tells you, man. I don't care if they tell you that Oa is the center of the universe. You all know it's Earth. Everything important happens on Earth. And that's why We get so many lanterns from this sector. Was there anything else you all wanted to point out? I was letting our guests.
Oh, yes.
I was looking for artwork.
One of the things that I really like and I thought was really cool, and it kind of reminded me of another thing that I'm watching right now, is that in the beginning of the book, or usually in the beginning of the book, there's like a quote from like a prominent like Black leader or like a Black artist.
Yes, sir.
And,
Are you going to mention what I think you're going to mention?
huh?
What?
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't want to. Now I don't want it because I feel like I'm gonna let you down. But it kind of reminds me of how in Lovecraft Country they have specific kind of they have like speeches from James Baldwin and different Black leaders kind of going in the background to take the place of music, and I just think that is really important and really special to see, and works done by Black people for Black people, because a lot of these names and a lot of these leaders, you know, it may be your first exposure, or it may be a person's first exposure to these leaders and to these people. And I think that that sci-fi and like anything supernatural told from a Black lens does give you that unique vantage point where you can take liberties like this and they seem more genuine, you know?
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned Lovecraft Country, because I don't know if you watch Sundays, and I won't spoil it for anybody, but I was reading through this today, and all I could think about was Sunday's episode, just in such juxtaposition with this, of like two awesome, Black women, and I think Black queer women. I think that other woman is.
Yeah.
Just in space and these fantasy settings in such a cool way, and the main character, and I was just like,
I cried. I had to. There's just so much right now for Black femmes that there hasn't been before, and with Far Sector specifically, everything about it is just so authentic and so, I think, important for, honestly, for any reader, but especially for Black people, for Black femmes right at this moment. I think this story is right on time for what is going on right now.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of gives an alternative perspective to something that is ongoing, that has been ongoing. So I think it's, and like Omar said, it's a really fucking cool, can I say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you can curse.
Okay.
You're fine.
It's a really fucking cool whodunit. And like at the end of book 7, I was just like, or at the end of every book, I'm just like, okay. Yes. What the hell is going on?
Every issue ends on a cliffhanger. You're like, what's going to happen next?
We've talked a lot about X-Men stories and other big stories that are great, approachable media through a great lens through which to view things that are happening in the world. Which I always mention. People are like, we get those guys in comments like, I don't like politics in my comic books. Like, well, politics are in our media. Too bad. But this is the perfect example. An approachable way to read all of this.
Yeah.
And in some ways, for people that it's too difficult, who is really close to their heart, right? It can be too difficult to deal with in their day-to-day life. This is a way that they can still, go through that, the thoughts and the trauma with that, and read it in a way that gives them a different agency than it would elsewhere. And it's so beautiful. Just exquisite.
Yes.
I think... I was going to talk about the toys that she had, but I can't go there. So
the Jon Stewart toy,
not from the conversation we're having. So one of the things that I appreciate about the comic medium is when it's done well, you can talk about the narrative that's happening in the real world. And I think this is one of those cases where it's done so good that there is a message in there. Now you can you can look at the message, or you can ignore it and read it for what it is. It's not going to attract from enjoying it, I swear.
Mhm.
Because I don't like when messages are in my face.
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny because Green Lantern is the book that started that. Green Lantern 76, the Hard Traveling Heroes by Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams, is the first book that a lot of people are like, this is when superheroes became woke. And it's the book at the very end where, you know, there's a black guy talking to Green Lantern, and he was like, you work for the blue skins, you help out the orange skins and the purple skins. Well, what about the black skins here at home? Answer me that, Mr. Green Lantern. And then Hal just, like, you know, he puts his head down, because this is during all the civil rights and all that. Like, he puts his head down. He's like, I can't. And, you know, for people that have been reading comics, like Maddie was talking about, there is a certain crowd out there that believes that politics and things like this, racism, like messages like this are new to comics, but it's been there, right? It's been there.
Yeah.
And Green Lantern 76, I always point that book out, is really the one that started this woke culture of superheroes.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting that this book brings it back to that, but it's not even that in your face about it.
No, there's a lot
because
of
I think Dennis O'Neil's, like, what about the black skins here on Earth, is more in your face about it than this book.
Yeah, because you're not seeing it outright. It's all told through her past, like what's going, like stuff that's happening now, right? That's very relevant. Police brutality, etc. But it's not in your face. It's just told through some flashbacks. But really, we're dealing with, you know, she does such a good job, Jamisin, of telling that story in relation, very nuanced, to what's going on now, or what's going on in the present with her current situation on the city enduring. I think it's so well done.
I think I agree with what both of you were saying. When I'm reading something that has, like, or that is meant rather to have kind of like political commentary, I don't like when it's super heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And especially in a way that can be a bit traumatic. And I found that a lot of white writers, when they're kind of taking a political stance on, you know, police brutality, racism, etc., they can be a little like, this is racism, this is what you were, and it's like, all right, cool, I get it. An example of that, it was, I forgot which Batman it was, but it was the Batman that basically, it was one that came out, I would say 3 to 4 years ago. But it was a Batman storyline where basically the Joker was cured of his insanity, and he decided to take on Batman in court with like his like unabandoned or like reckless abandonment with society and humans. But it was so, just the way that it was written, it just wasn't, I understood the message, but it wasn't for me. And I feel that with Jamisin, she sets the tone for the conversation and for that to be a part of the story. But as Omar was saying, as Amanda was saying, it's not the focal point. The focal point is always Joe. And I think that is amazing.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's all about so her will is different. It's how to have the willpower to live with fear, right? That's what she
that was cool.
Once she reaches that full potential, then there's no stopping her. But it's that idea that she has to live with that fear. So that's really going to be the driving force of at least these 12 issues, right?
And how interesting that it's not like fully charged. Like, I love that she has to really, you know, figure out how, okay, so I have a limited amount of power. I need to use my like people skills, my diplomacy to offset this. So I need to find a more nuanced way to like approach people and solve problems.
And I feel like that kind of speaks to the plight.
I'll go back to that.
Go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
I kind of feel like that speaks to the plight of Black women, and it's very much, you know, where do we use our energy? How do we expend this energy? What happens when we go over that? how do we live with our fear? How do we overcome our fear? What do we do, or what can we do once we reckon with that fear, and we use that, or we kind of sit with it, and we, realize that it's there and it's always going to be there, but how can we turn this, and how can we turn that fear into power? And I just think that is really, really cool, and that is a really deep and beautiful message to display with a Black Green Lantern, a Black woman Green Lantern.
I think it's a good message, of course. Like, I like her character, and we'll go back to that here in a second. But I did want to point this out from Jeremy. He's saying then Green Arrow and Green Lanterns kind of represent the different viewpoints. Yeah, Ollie's always been written as a right-wing conservative type of character, and whereas Hal is always more laid back, and so yes, during that run is when they got together and they saw differences, and it's a really cool run. It was kind of weird because both books were about to get canceled, but it's like they take a road trip together, and it's still in continuity. It's really freaking awesome. But anyway, let's go back to this.
One quick thing I do want to touch on that was really cool before we keep going is that I really liked how, like, her sexuality was so casual. It wasn't overstated, it was understated, and it could just be. And I read a lot of queer books. I talk about this pretty often, but I don't see a lot of that in DC. That's usually missing, especially even from like self-proclaimed queer characters that don't talk about it, right? Like Wonder Woman. But she just got to have it in this, and it was great. And it was nice, and it's just there, and it's just nice to see.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was done really well. I love it. I thought,
and everybody's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't like affect the story at all. Because sometimes those things do it too.
Covering faces. Jessica says,
we can move Maki
insight.
Up.
Yeah, I should. You can move over. All right, move me down. Here.
Now you better. Now you're on the spotlight, Maki. So you better.
Jessica says, Maki, thank you for that insight on the extra layer of the energy saving dynamic. Totally makes sense. That really deepens that aspect of the story. I agree.
Huzzah. Oh, can I also mention that I really like that the Na just have, that the Na just have these very long, amazing names. Like Marth is Marth of the Sea by the wavering dark.
Yeah.
Falls. Like it really reminded me of Tabaxi names from D&D, and just how just like, here is my name, but also my location, but also what I'm doing. And I think it's really, I just thought that was really cool as well.
Yeah.
It's great world building.
There's so much that's great.
Like, I hope that this continues, and I hope
John Stewart Green Lantern
they do like role-playing games on this. That was so cute. Look at his little figure collection. Isn't that adorable?
It was on the cover, and I was expecting it to show up. This better be in here. And then not only that, but there's a Sailor Jupiter on the end of this picture.
I didn't even see that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they can't usually use. Jamal sneaked it in there, I'm sure.
I love it. That's amazing. Yes, this character just speaks to me. I should just bite the bullet and just cosplay her.
You really should.
Do it.
Please.
Just do it. Maddie, would you take my photos whenever we're allowed to be humans?
Yes. I've been dying to ask you forever.
Literally anytime. Literally anytime.
Okay.
There's not COVID.
Yeah. After COVID. I'll see you at MacFest. We'll work it out.
And it happened on the air. Very nice.
It's a lot better this way, because in person would have been way more awkward. But like, hey,
I'd be like, like, cool, like, yeah, like,
if you would,
like, yeah, whenever.
And my husband, like, can you chill, even like a little
Both
bit?
of our husbands. My husband probably like, right there, like she needs to go. She's screaming. She's been crying in this costume, but she won't stop talking to people.
Oh, same.
Oh.
Same.
Can I just say this is the only comic I've ever read that has quoted not only Miles Davis but Nina Simone, and I was so happy to see that because nobody ever quotes Nina. Nobody even remembers who she was. Well, I guess they do now because of the movie that what's her name was in. That was some bad casting.
Yeah.
Just saying. That was some bad casting, and I love that woman. But she should not have played Nina Simone.
Nina Simone is really getting her due because also she's very prominently featured in Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
Oh, well, see, I haven't watched it yet.
I need you to watch it and catch up.
Well, I'm gonna catch up. I'm gonna catch up.
I just.
You gotta do it.
God, it's the best thing in my life right now. Like,
Yeah,
so
it's good.
Darkstalkers. Oh hell, yes.
and Darkstalkers.
Shit, I love Darkstalkers.
Batman White Knight was the one that I was thinking of, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I got you.
Thank you.
Batman
That's really
White
funny,
Knight.
though.
Yeah, fuck that. There are things I don't put up with, and whatever. And I'm really fucking chill. I'm like Gal Jordan chill. It takes a lot for me to snap, but I will snap on a motherfucker.
What? You expect me to sell this to people? I refuse. And they made a part 2.
It's pretty though. Sean Murphy's artwork is so good. I thought you were talking about Batman going sane at first, and that I really liked, and I couldn't remember. I'm like, did he? No, he never did take him to court.
No, it was White Knight because they did the whole spiel about the social justice warrior, the blah blah, and I was like, really? Really? We're using Twitter buzzwords now? Stop it. Yeah, it was not great. It felt like I was being.
I think sometimes people are trying to do the right thing and using, this medium to get a message across. And sometimes it comes off as really cringy, but when it's done classy and natural like this, it works.
I'm sorry, I gotta highlight this really quick. Maddie, I'm buying a house for my husband. Also, Maddie, Lovecraft Country is the best thing in my life right now.
We stand a multifaceted.
Hayden also mentioned earlier, he asked if you were wearing that shirt to antagonize me and Maddie.
No, I literally put it. I forgot we had a show tonight.
You did earlier
because I had to explain it. Because I love the Dark Phoenix. Y'all are wrong. I don't like to argue with you two, but you're wrong. Yeah. We're gonna old reader, new reader is gonna be Dark Phoenix. We're gonna try this again. That's what we're gonna call it. No. And we're gonna reread it until you both like it. All right, wait. I guess when we do old reader, new reader, Batman White Knight, we're gonna get Maki back in.
Yeah, we want Maki. So she could just
she could talk about how it was.
Oh, I'm ready.
Well, everybody in the chat already loves you, so if you ever just come back and hang out, Maki, you're welcome anytime.
I would love to. I would love to talk about books with y'all. That would be amazing.
And I'm in charge of November, so I get to pick.
I'm just saying, I'm available.
There you go.
Another thing that I wanted to say about this book is I really enjoyed the use of color and how rich and just vibrant the world was. And this is kind of this doesn't have to do with really, I guess, I liked the paper that they printed it on as well too. There were certain parts in the book where I felt that like when the planets were at like a certain angle, when you would like tilt the book, like the planets would kind of like jump out at you or like glisten at you. And I just thought that, again, it's another thing that kind of immerses me more. I tried really hard. I know this is like super terrible, but I try really hard not to read a lot of digital comics because I'm one of those people that needs to feel a book to like get the wholeness of the book. So I really liked those little details and just how vibrant the color was and how rich the different skin tones were, how textured Joe's hair was, how textured Mark's hair was, Siz's hair. Jamal Campbell knows Black people.
Well,
And
it helps that he's Black and been with,
yes,
you know,
yes,
because I will tell you this: there are white artists growing up in the 80s and 90s that could not draw Black people's hair.
and Black people who could not draw Black people's hair.
Oh, for real?
So that's why I said it.
Okay. I like to know that list because on the list that I had, Chris Bacalo, I love that guy's art, but I remember him drawing Bishop, and Bishop, like, his hair was just like Fabio's hair. I don't know if you remember Fabio or not. Like, has he ever seen a Black man before? Like, that is not gonna happen. Like, it's wonderful. I still love the guy's artwork. He did Death: A High Cost of Living and has done wonderful things. But I just remember that, and then a couple other artists. But I found it funny because I love the texture that he uses because of the colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I feel like there are definitely I think Black artists, and whether it is their choice or just the choice and how they've viewed art, but there are definitely, I think, Black artists and artists of color who do kind of draw with sort of a white palette. And with that, you know, you get a lot of Black characters that, you know, don't have like natural hair or don't have that kind of texture in their hair. Because one thing that I really liked is the variety of hairstyles that you see Joe wear. Yeah. Because that really speaks to just how Black women are chameleons with our hair, and like how we like this hair was not the hair that I was wearing like 4 hours ago, and I just think that it's really cool that they showed her in, you know, different protective styles and with her hair, you know, blown out, but also with her hair kind of like in her afro and her natural style. So I really, really appreciated that particular attention to detail as well.
You know what? Damn. That is something I didn't even notice. Because after she and old dude got together, right? Like her hair is all a mess. And then because of the Green Lantern ring, she fixes it up, you know, does her hair and goes out and fights.
Yo, I wish I had a ring that would too. I could just like, all right, I'm trying to do this with my hair tight. That would save so much time.
Real quick, I'm really glad you mentioned liking reading physical books because, well, we talk about this a lot because we collect various editions of things, and I had to highlight Jessica's comment because she said if Maki did a face field test with her single issue, she needs to do a Fangirls Assemble episode. It's the law. I do a live show on Sundays with my friend Kristen. And every time we buy books, we can't help but talk about how it feels. And there's a lot of, like, face rubbing, so it's become, like, a thing. And so I couldn't help but think about that. Because I'm like, oh, this is just, like, a really nice face feel. Like, this is really good.
Like I said, I'm available for all the things. I will just be the little pocket-sized Maki that you pull out. And
that's, like, my dream come true.
It's like, hello, I am here to talk about the things, but not Batman White Knight.
Save that for this show. Was there anything, because I've heard nothing but praise from all of us, was there anything that you all didn't like about this series? The first 7 issues, 6 issues, however many you all read that we were supposed to, 6, but whatever. You two, go ahead.
I told you I just wanted the ending, and you told us that it was going to end.
The first trade paperback is 6 issues, dude! How am I going to know?
I mean, I just hope that they don't let us down in the last 5 issues, I guess, is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. No, that's good, because it could go to crap. Like, the next 4 issues could be bad.
How they handled the ending of the whodunit and Joe's whole entire place in the story. So it's, a little worried about that. But I think that Jamisin will handle it fine. And I'm not really worried about the artwork. So.
All right. What about you two ladies? Maki? What
there's nothing
that you okay, fair enough. Maddie?
I love it. I have nothing. That's it. I mean, I just want more of it, and that's my only downside.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't love that it's possibly non-canon, is what I
Yeah.
don't love.
Like I said, it's DC. Give it another
Yeah.
crisis, she'll be Green Lantern for a while. I'm trying to think. The only downside to the story is I wanted, when you have somebody like Jamal drawing your story, I wanted a little more action. I love it. I love the world building, but it is a little slow at first, and because of the mystery.
Because
I'm on issue 6.
Action.
Yeah. But that's something to keep in mind if you're reading it monthly. Like you expect maybe a little more. Now, then there is some from time to time, but there is a lot of dialogue to get there, and that's the only negative thing I have to say about it. I enjoyed everything else about the
So
book.
sorry, I'm gonna cover your face really quick, but Jessica,
Okay.
sorry, I do see everyone else's comments. Just Jessica's got some really good ones. I promise I'm not playing favorites. This is a book to put your money where your mouth is and support some quality-owned voices stories by singles, physical or digital. Show the big two that there's a place and market for stuff like this.
Yes.
I agree.
Bring Joe back. I want another Sojourner story. I want more. And
I just want her in
Naomi.
everything.
Hell yeah.
We could possibly get more, I think.
I think if it sells well, I think we're gonna get more Naomi, and that did really well.
When I was reading it, apparently Gerard Way actually approached Jamisin and asked her to write for Young Animal, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
As a Gerard Way fan.
Gerard Way?
Clearly, well, yeah, you know him in DC. I mean,
He came to our store. He's wonderful.
Oh, is he? That's
so
awesome.
jealous of you right now. I love
Yeah,
it.
same.
Oh boy.
High
Here we
School
go.
Maddie's very upset.
Here we go.
Him and Steve Orlando came for Milk Wars a couple
Okay.
years
Yeah,
back.
Orlando did that.
Yeah.
Real quick, Nocturne, Maki's social media stuff is all in the description. So please check her out.
Or if you want me to say it,
You can go ahead and say
You
it.
can say it.
I'm on the Instagrams at Maki Roll Official. I'm on Twitter at Maki Roll OFC. And I am on Twitch. I just launched a Twitch stream and I'm terrible at games. So come watch me be really terrible. It's twitch.tv/Maki Streams.
That's also in the description. All of that is in the description.
Yep.
You can find different outlets. All right, so we've come to the point of the show where we get to rate the book. You get to rate it out of 10. I assume I know what everybody's going to say. Maybe. I guess it would shock me if one of you is like, 2 out of 10. But what would you ladies rate this out of 10? Oh, you can say it at once if you don't want
Yeah, I
to.
get
10
it.
out of 10.
It is really
Tens across the board.
fantastic story.
10 out of 10. All right. I guess I'm the only guy here, and it's not that. It's just because I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It's a good story. It's freaking awesome, but I wish it just had more action because I'm a big fan of his artwork. So Jamal Campbell. I call him Jamal.
Don't worry, the climax is happening. You'll have 5 more issues, Omar.
Yeah.
Quit spoiling things that happen
For
in
you,
episode
6 more
7.
issues, 6 more issues for you because you didn't read issue 7.
All right. I take it.
So what you're gonna do immediately after this is go read issue 7.
It's not because it doesn't even take that long to read it. So
No,
Exactly.
sadly, immediately after this, I have this to look forward to, and that is the Spider-Man Clone Saga. I got to do an overview tomorrow morning. This came out last week, and I'm not really looking forward to
yay,
reliving
the
all
Clone
this.
Saga.
This is the 4th book of the Clone Saga. That's how many we've had.
So large.
Oh,
We have
They
another
love
question
Clones with Spider-Man.
for Maki. DBZ All-Star asks, which store are you at, if you feel comfortable saying that, and have you gotten to meet Tinian when he comes to the Annapolis store?
I have gotten to drive James Tinian around.
look at you.
That's so cool.
Wow.
I have gotten the privilege to drive James Tinian from his hotel and from the airport, and he and his wife are wonderful. I actually do not work in store, but when I used to work retail side, I used to work in the Annapolis store. I also worked in the St. Mary's store. I worked basically in every store that wasn't Richmond.
Yeah.
So I I'm kind of like an OG at this point.
Wow.
But these days, I kind of hang out in the office. I'm an office gremlin, and I answer all the questions
Nice.
That's really
and post the things.
So you're
That's
the
a good
one.
job to have.
You're the one people reach out to if they're like, "Hey, do you have this out of print omnibus? Do you have this?" That's you. Okay. Well, I've got your contact information now.
like, so now I know what to do.
Yeah, that's what Omar has to do every day, but he's going to get paid to do that. That's just
No,
part
he
of
doesn't.
being on this channel.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
get paid.
for it. You just
I just do it out of the kindness of my heart. Oh man. So yeah, this book was a lot of fun. I'm glad you all you chose it, Maki. Thank you so much. Because I probably would have waited until the oversized hardcover was out and read it sometime next year and read it in one sitting. But I'm kind of glad I got the jump start on it, and I'll probably pick it up when it comes out in oversized format. So,
Yay.
now you worked at a comic shop. We're next week kicks off our October spooktacular read for this show, and I've suggested Berserk because I mean it's the greatest manga of all time.
yeah.
And Maddie has suggested a Junji Ito title,
Yeah.
and I think you went with
Because every
Gyo,
year
right?
we read another Junji Ito. So
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah. And then and I think that's all we've had so far. We've had some suggestions from the chat, but do you have anything that you would like to
spooky
say?
suggestion.
Do you like horror comics? I'm not sure if you do or not.
I don't think I have like a robust palette of horror. One thing that I've liked, I'm not really sure that it's like horror so much as it's like psych thrillery and like really like makes you kind of sit with yourself. But I've really liked Ice Cream Man a lot.
Yeah,
that's a
solid read.
I've been thinking like Ice Cream Man is really weird to me and really like makes me question life. It reminds me kind of like Paranoia Agent. If anybody's like watched the Paranoia Agent anime or anything.
Oh my god, yes.
All of Satoshi Kon.
Yes,
all of it.
Say,
yes.
It gives me very big Satoshi Kon feel.
Okay.
So that's my suggestion. I'm also not a horror person.
No. I've read the first volume, and neither is Amanda, but that's okay. But we like to torture her and make sure she reads something really scary before going to bed.
On our film show that we do on Wednesdays next month, I have to watch horror movies.
Yeah, but they're bad horror movies.
I know, but it's bad. I'm still gonna hate them because
oh my god, what a
day where I can forget them.
What an awesome suggestion!
I love Beautiful Darkness.
I love this book. I know my buddy Omnidog Jess absolutely hates it, but oh my god, this book is one of the creepiest, most let me tell you the premise of this book, and then we can see what other suggestions we got. Premise of the book is a bunch of little fairies, right? Like little tiny little fairies in the woods are living on the body of a decaying dead little girl. That's the premise. So we go from there, and it gets dark, and it's messed up. I love it.
Neverland is good too. Now that
I got a story about that. I got a story about that. That's so you know what it is, right? Promised Neverland. You know the secret, the twist and stuff, right? So my daughter's 5 years old, and I'm trying to be a good father. I'm working out of town. I buy her the first volume, and I'm like, oh, a bunch of cute little kids in school, and she's a really good reader. So about like I give it to her when I come back. She starts reading it. She reads about half of the book. She comes back. She's like, Poppy, I don't think I'm supposed to be reading this book. She shows me, and it's a bunch of decapitated kids. Like their heads. And I'm like, no, my bad. Damn it. Why does manga, like the covers, have to be so misleading?
My friend thought it was a slice of life, and we let her believe it.
Oh, you're such a good friend. I love it. Lionheart, here you go, brother. This is the cover to the John Romita. It's the cover to the trade paperback. I don't know if you remember that or not, but that's what they used. It's the John Romita Jr. image. Beautiful Darkness is a damn good suggestion. Like, it takes no time to read. It's creepy, and I'm wondering. I know Maddie's right. I'm wondering what Amanda would think of it.
What?
Beautiful Darkness. Yeah.
I mean, I've read Uzumaki, so I think I can read anything.
Uzumaki's solid. So, but this year we're doing Gyo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gyo. It's about goldfish.
Great.
And Shibuya.
Oh.
In I just remember I really like that one too. Beautiful Darkness is underrated. I'm glad a lot of people agree. I know it's not very
That
well
sounds
liked.
beautiful.
It's creepy as hell.
Aw. Joe says, "Welcome, Maki. I hope you survive the experience."
It all depends. It depends on how she feels about Dark Phoenix.
DBZ also, I love corpse delivery service, but it's not being continued, and I can't think about how it's not going to be continued without crying.
That breaks my heart that they decided not to. I mean, there's still a chance next year, so we'll see.
I don't know.
Omar, when do you think we'll see Far Sector in OHC? It's DC, man. We don't even have Naomi in OHC. We have standard hardcovers. That's what we'll see first. I just found out, and I'm so pissed because I just ordered it today, that the Batman book by Chuck Dixon is standard size hardcover. It's not oversized hardcover. I just think, damn it, I paid like oversized hardcover prices for it. Stop torturing Amanda. I've been doing that since the day we met, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the day we got to really know each other.
Yeah.
Like, the day
Oh,
we
man.
met.
You never let me know your weaknesses.
It's too easy.
Dude, what were you doing? We were playing. Never mind. Dumb story. Happy birthday, Omar. Can you ask David to ask DC to print Far Sector and Deluxe? I'll see what
David
I can do.
is.
Oh my god.
I'll see what I
We
can
don't have a
do.
DC hookup.
I did, and they all got fired. All four of them connected, like people that I knew at DC. They're all
Darn
gone.
shame.
That sucks. Because now I'm getting ghosted by the DC people. Whatever. We'll see what happens.
All right, so we're hitting time,
Oh yeah.
so make sure you go ahead and wrap it up.
All right.
But before we go, Maki, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really fun, and I hope that you come back. It sounds like you're interested, so I'll definitely ask you to.
Yes, please.
And if you guys want to catch Maki anywhere, please go to the description of this video so you can see where all of her social is, so you can go follow her everywhere and catch her Twitch streams and everything. Don't forget to like this video, comment down below about what you think about Far Sector if you're catching this later. If you are watching this for the first time, which would be a big surprise to me, and that's awesome. I hope you subscribe to future videos. Don't forget we have a Patreon through which you can vote for reading orders and our pick of the month for Old Reader New Reader. And we have a Redbubble, so if you want to, sport some near mint merch in real life, you can get it there. All in the description. And we will see you all next week with, what are we reading first?
Y'all didn't decide.
I know.
Well, we'll make that decision and we will post it on social media shortly.
I'm calling anybody out. I was just making
Guys,
conversation.
Know what to read so you can read along with us.
That sounds good.